Welcome back. So we're going to do another chapter. Last time I really enjoyed talking over the cutscenes, so I'm going to do it again this time. I think it probably just makes for a more interesting video, because if you want to watch the cutscenes, there are lots of other places you can do that, so subtitles are still on, so if you want to watch them, you can read them, but yeah. So we're just buying some stuff from the store and using up the money that I earned from last chapter that I didn't spend. I'm probably not going to use a lot of those techniques too often, but I quite like Witch Twist. It's a fun move. And I'm also just checking here the price of a particular accessory, which we'll talk about later. But yeah. And now the chapter begins. So I think it's pretty much common knowledge at this point. Or, I mean, if you've played the game, or if you have at all been involved with, like, the Bayonetta community, I suppose you'd call it, you'll know that the angels here are speaking Enochian, I believe it's pronounced, which is like it's not a real language, but it's not like a language that the game made up. It's a part of like Christian mythology, I guess you'd call it. It's like some sort of like magical language that angels allegedly spoke. So yeah, it's fitting that angels speak a language that angels supposedly speak. I don't know if it's like commonly believed by Christians these days or at all that like it's a real thing. I have no idea. But yeah, that's what it is. And interestingly, I guess Bayonetta can understand Enochian and angels can understand English, but neither one of them will speak the other one to each other. It's kind of interesting. Yeah, he's peacing out because Bayonetta's being very aggressive. So yeah, this I'm not sure if I've talked about this in previous chapters, but this stage really introduces the potential for environmental damage. So those lava bits on the ground that you can see, they will, if you step on them, they'll deal damage. And that's not good. Just quickly here, these enemies are on fire, which means you can't hit them outside of which time, otherwise you'll take damage. Just, it's important to know. But anyway, yeah, so the if you touch the lava or the fire on the ground, you'll take damage, and if it happens inside combat, or in a verse, I should say, if you look at the top right of the screen, you'll see the sort of combo points, my halos, I suppose, and then above it it'll say verse 1. So that will disappear if I'm not currently fighting anything. So if it doesn't say verse, blah 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 up there, you're not in a verse, you're not in combat, basically. And if you get damage outside of combat, similarly to using angel weapons, it won't actually count towards your rank at the end. But interestingly enough, it will still remember it. So at the end of the chapter, you'll get like a sort of your rank and your score, and then it'll say combo points, time, and then damage. And even though you get pure platinum, it'll actually tell you how much damage you received. It'll actually show up there. So I still avoid it because I like, the end card. And as you can see there, the verse thing disappeared. But yeah, I still avoid it because I like the end card to be completely beautiful and clean. But you don't actually have to. You can take as much damage as you want, and as long as you don't die outside of a verse, you'll still get pure platinum. So that's kind of interesting. But yeah, okay, so this Alfheim, the bin that you saw me destroy before, you need to break that bin for this to appear. I'm not sure why. I suppose it was put there like so that it would be a nice surprise if you get it while fighting in the verse beforehand, because you can break it accidentally if you do that. But yeah. So anyway, this one is maybe a little bit difficult because you don't have the whip yet, and staying in the air, if you're not used to it, might be difficult. But if it's really giving you trouble, you can just come back to this verse later when you have the whip, and it's incredibly easy. But if you want to do it without the whip, you just have to make sure that you're doing enemy steps, so jumping off of enemies and using extended combos to stay in the air. And it's not that challenging. This one, because it has some easy enemies, is pretty good. There are later ones that can be quite difficult, even with the whip. But yeah, so that's that. And here is an Umbran Tear of Blood, which I missed. I thought about editing this out, but I only miss it once, so figured I wouldn't bother. But yeah, most of them aren't hard to get, but some of them can be a bit finicky. It's usually not a big deal because I think all of them come back. I don't think there are birds in this game that will despawn if you miss them, so you can just keep trying. So in test runs, or I suppose initial attempts of this chapter, I missed the combo rank for this, so I guess just make sure that you're not being too hasty and you should be fine. It's not very high, so it shouldn't be a problem. I guess I just ran through too fast or something. I really don't know. But it just, just warning you, it can be a problem, so don't assume you'll be fine and run off. Try and get, at least some Wicked Weaves in to boost your combo points. Yep, so this is introducing Fairness, or one of them. There are two different kinds of this enemy, and one of them is called Fairness, and one of them is called something else. I don't remember what the other name is, and I don't remember which one this is called, but they're like bird dog things. They're actually really fun to fight. They're one of my favorite enemies, and they're not too difficult, but they go down pretty easily. But they are definitely a step up compared to anything that you've faced before at this point. And they can shoot fireballs pretty quickly, so if you're not used to fighting them, they can be, a bit quick on their feet. They do, I guess decent amounts of damage, so they might be a bit tough, but once you get used to them, you'll be fine. But they don't dodge your attacks for the most part, which is really what makes them nice, because some of the harder enemies love to dodge all of your attacks. Or, parry you. They will still do that. Wow. They will still do that. Because they're an armored enemy, basically any enemy that has armor will often sort of like knock your attacks off if you hit them like physically. But once you knock off their armor by doing enough damage, or maybe it isn't damage, but if you do enough damage, you should have done it. I'm not sure if maybe you have to specifically hit them with Wicked Weaves or if it's just a damage threshold thing, but eventually their armor will fall off and you'll be fine. You can hit them normally then. But yeah, beforehand, it might be better to like stay back and hit them with mostly bullets and Wicked Weaves. Yeah, other than that, they're not too hard. I've been playing with Jeanne recently, and if you don't know, she's an unlockable character that you can get by completing every single chapter. I think it's on normal or higher with a platinum rank or above. So, basically platinum or pure platinum. If you get either of those in every single chapter, you will unlock her. And she's a lot harder in general. They're just like, I won't go into exactly what's different about her because, I'm sure you don't care, but basically she's harder to use. And re-watching this footage, going back, it's like kind of amazing how easily you trigger Witch Time with Bayonetta, because that's one of the main things, is that it's a little harder to trigger Witch Time with Jeanne. Yeah, it's so just such a large window of opportunity, honestly. It makes you appreciate Bayonetta more, I think. If you play as Jeanne for a while, you go, wow, so much easier. Yeah, that was a use. I realized I just did not talk about that Alfheim at all. I use Angel Weapons Alfheim, so they're pretty straightforward. And if you were watching, You just use angel weapons, and enemies won't take damage from regular attacks. Which is not a challenge at all, really, because angel weapons are already so good at damaging and damaging out angels. Had to get that one out. They're so good at damaging angels and giving you combo points and all of that. It's never been a challenging Alfheim for me, I don't think, and it shouldn't be for anyone. Honestly, not even sure why they're there. I guess it's just to like let you know, hey, angel weapons exist and are good, and that line is very funny. Bayonetta says plenty of great things in this game. The entire game is just so ridiculous and campy. It's my favorite thing ever. I have a somewhat strange anecdote to share, but I was at like a second-hand game shop once, and I made a joke to the cashier that I don't know why I said this, but I said that Bayonetta was me in drag. Just, I guess I thought that was funny. And he told me that he got into drag once to, like, was it like get weed from someone, or like go to a party where there was weed? Because apparently they wouldn't let him in if... I don't remember. It was a strange story. I thought I was being weird, and then he just... he hit me with the weed drag. But yeah, that's fun. If for some reason you're watching this random guy who told me about that when I said that Bayonetta was me in drag, I hope you know that I remember that encounter fondly, so... Yeah, so this QuickTime event here actually gives me grief a lot of the time. It didn't this time, and it won't. It'll be like, I'll play this game like 10 times in a row this chapter, and I'll get it every single time without a problem, and then just for some reason, I'll just start to die. Because it's an instant death if you miss it. I think the main issue is that if you're anticipating it, like I would be, you can press it too early and then you'll miss it. So just wait until you see the actual prompt for the button press appear before you press it, which I guess sounds like, well, yeah, what else would you do? But it's quite important because it can be quite easy to miss. It's a fast one, I think. That's another thing about this game with sort of the quick time events, I suppose you'd call them, is that a lot of them will kill you instantly if you don't get them. And on your first time through, if you don't already know where they are and what to expect, they can kill you really easily, which is a bit mean. You know, like, it's interesting that they decided to make them just kill you outright as opposed to, like, you know, I don't know, take some health and set you back at a checkpoint. But I guess because most of the time they're not situated in verses, therefore missing them would not actually affect your score. They thought it would be, you know, they wanted to punish you more for missing them by making you die, which, I mean, I guess that makes sense, but I feel like they could have done something like, if you miss a QTE, you'll, like, get some kind of penalty on your eventual score, like, when you use an item. I mean, that would be better than just dying outright. And although it's kind of similar, it would be like half of a... I guess I should explain. When you get to the end of a chapter, if you use an item, or first of all, if you die, you'll get like a little skull marker when you die, and it will lower the overall rank that you get at the end by 1 for each skull you get, and there's a maximum, I think, of skulls you can earn before the game just stops recording how many times you die. I think probably at the point where the score wouldn't be able to be lowered any further anyway. But if you use an item, it's only half. And I'm not sure, but I think it's possible that if you only use one item, it won't lower your score. It might it might depend on how well the score is. So let's say you get like gold in every single verse. Maybe then it's like, it's not going to lower your score. But if you got like, I don't know, 6 gold and 4 silver, it might lower your score then. I'm not entirely sure. I'll probably look it up and maybe make a comment about it on the YouTube video, but yeah. I remember this verse being longer than it is because we are nearing the end. Well, maybe not quite. There's still a bit to go, but we are a lot further in than I thought we would be. So, this is Paradiso. You can kind of go through portals to it, I suppose. I don't think that's happened yet. I don't remember. I should leave myself notes in between videos so that I don't forget this kind of stuff, but yeah, it's like the heaven equivalent, I suppose. That's quite pretty. It looks like Alfheim's set in it, I think, though. I'm not sure if they canonically are. Maybe somebody knows who's like well versed in Bayonetta lore, but the aesthetic looks similar. So these Alfheims are basically sections where the game is bumped up to max difficulty, because on the max difficulty you don't get witch time. And on the max difficulty, these Alfheims are replaced with just kill all enemy Alfheims, for obvious reasons. I imagine that they would be very hard, but because I... Oh, well, actually, no, I should say they're not exactly the same as non-stop. On hard, they probably are, but on normal, because witch time is not the only thing that's different between, you know, normal and non-stop, they're probably a bit easier than it would be on non-stop, because the attack patterns are still slower, the animations are still a bit slower, the enemies are probably a little bit less aggressive, all those sorts of things. So it's not quite as hard as if you were playing on non-stop, but it is a considerable degree harder. And I imagine it would give new players quite a bit of trouble. But because they're slightly easier, because they don't bump up, you know, the other things with the enemies, it's probably good places to practice playing without witch time, other than maybe playing with Sean. So if you're trying to transition into non-stop and hard or whatever, might be... Maybe you could practice on these Alfheims. I'm not sure. But yeah, they're definitely a challenge. But if you're used to playing on non-stop, then they're not that bad. I guess it's like, I've said that a lot through the course of this LP, that like, a lot of things just get easier with time, which I suppose is a bit obvious. But it is very true, because there are parts in this game that I feel like stay difficult no matter how skilled you are. Maybe that's my bias, who knows, but that's my impression. But a lot of these things that seem really hard at first are actually quite easy to overcome, or at the very least, you know, very bearable once you've played the game for a bit and you're used to it and how it all works. But yeah, some sections are just hell on earth, no matter how much I play this game, so I'm sure we'll find out about those when I get up to them. So this thing reverses time, and we use it to fix the bridge. But first we gotta go to another Alfheim. The chapter was actually quite fun to edit because I did a very good job and I didn't have to do a lot of cuts. Because I got a lot of verses on my first try, not bragging. Because I usually don't. And technically, this should be harder than previous chapters, so I know it was just a fluke. But anyway, yeah, I didn't have to do a lot of editing, which is nice. Makes my life simpler. So this is a use Wicked Weave's Alfheim. Again, I'm not sure if we've come across one of these before, but the name says all. The main bit of tech that you need to know to do these well is dodge offset. So being able to dodge and continue your combo is good for being able to dodge enemy attacks in the middle of the combo, but you can also use it to cut down on the time it takes to get from, you know, standing still to a Wicked Weave. So if you do it, as you can see here, it's actually much faster than waiting for the attacks to come out, and because the enemies will automatically deflect your attacks in these outflames, it also stops that from being able to happen. But you can actually get Wicked Weaves out a lot faster than I was doing it. I was playing it safe because you don't really have to go faster, so I thought might as well. But you can dodge a lot faster and attack again a lot faster than I was doing it, and potentially get Wicked Weaves out really, really quickly. If you want to try, probably looks a lot cooler. So yeah, this is the bridge that was knocked down that we're now back to. And you can just stand on this bridge for as long as you want, as long as you're fighting the enemies. I think once you pass a certain point, it will collapse again, but it's not based off of time. So you're free to, you know, spend as long as you want on this side of the bridge, and you will not make it break. But eventually, when you pass a certain point, it'll fall down again. So here we go, like that. Yeah, so that won't happen until you move past a certain point, so it's fine to just stay there. On subsequent playthroughs, this part is not a problem at all, but I'm surprised by how quickly the the bits of this bridge fall off when you don't have faster modes of moving. It's still not that hard, it's just, it surprised me how quickly you had to move. And yeah, that edit there was because I got hit by one of these fire things, and I was debating just leaving it in because, like I was saying in the beginning of this chapter, it doesn't actually ruin a pure platinum run, but I wanted that nice, perfect, 0 damage card or bit at the end, so I decided to reset it. It wasn't that bad, but, you know, it is a bit annoying when you get up to this point, because this is the end of the chapter, there are no more verses, and you just get hit by a fucking fire snake thing. Yeah. So at this point, I try to save up Shuraba and attack one of these boulders, forgetting that I don't have Panther Within yet, so it doesn't work. Because Bayonetta's dodge limit means that I couldn't get ahead far enough to actually use it on a rock. But you can break the rocks if you attack them, or you can just dodge them like this. So, I actually looked at that out of curiosity because I've never gone back before. It was not for the sake of the LP, although it does work out in favor. But yeah, I was wondering if you could go back, but you can't because it's filled with lava. Don't know what I was doing there. So this is me thinking that a regular crow was an Amontero blood crow and waiting for it to come back and being very confused. But it turns out it's just a head. See? Oh, well, guess we didn't notice yet. There it is. And that's that. This is the end of the chapter. This big Colosseum thing here is where we're going to fight the first boss, or, you know, the first, in quotes, boss. I suppose the first official boss. But yeah, that's that. Yeah, so see that damage, no damage thing there? That'll be different, even though you get pure platinum if you take environmental damage. But anyway, yep, that's it. And I'll see you in the next one.